Now at 5, a look at trends of local COVID cases and hospitalizations. Plus, Joplin police arrest a man accused of shooting and killing his own daughter.
Former President Trump wants several lawsuits tied to what some say his role was on January 6th thrown out. I'm Skyler Henry on Capitol Hill with more, and the latest Trump ally saying no to the committee investigating the attack.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Coronavirus cases and hospitalizations continue to increase across the area as the Omicron variant takes hold. This is KOIM News at 5. Officials in Newton County say they've seen a significant increase in COVID cases since Christmas, but they've also noticed an increase in testing as well. Officials with Mercy Hospital say they've seen an increase in cases and hospitalizations. However, they're noticing not as many people are needing intensive care services or ventilators.
The good news is that the hospitalization stay seems to be a little bit shorter and less complicated.
Tonight at 6, we're going to hear more about what other trends are being noticed as the Omicron variant continues to spread. Joplin police arrest a man accused of killing his teenage daughter. Authorities say Todd Mays shot and killed his 17-year-old daughter during a disturbance at their home on Connor Avenue. Officers yesterday responded to a call about someone being shot and found the 17-year-old. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition, passed away this morning. Police arrested Mays at the scene. Authorities this afternoon charged Mays with first-degree murder and armed criminal action. A building fire in Miami, Oklahoma created so much smoke it could be seen dozens of miles away. Firefighters responded to calls about the fire a little after 9:30 this morning and found the old boater float building engulfed in flames. 10 minutes after they arrived, the front wall collapsed.
You know, the building has a rock front and it's a rock building, and we weren't here 15 minutes and the walls were starting to fall out, so we just stayed outside and used our ladder truck and fought it from the outside rather than send people in.
The building had been vacant for a while, but a friend of the owner says the power was turned on again last week. Checking in with Doug Hetty now for a first look at the weather.
Well, Downs, turned out to be a pretty good Monday for us today. A little bit on the chilly side, but not that bad. Quite a bit of sunshine across the region. That is what we are seeing now. Well, the sun is setting, but we have clear skies out there really across the entire central plains. Pretty quiet as we go through the next few days. Temps, chilly, mid to upper 40s. We're going to drop back near 30 tonight, upper 20s to near 30 degrees. So if you are going to be out through the evening hours, you definitely want to bundle up as we slide back through the 30s, eventually into the upper 20s. Our temps may rise a little bit toward dawn. We're actually going to start to warm things back up a little bit over the next few days. So we're going to look at that the entire week. Our next storm system all coming up here in just a bit.
See you then. Lawyers for former President Trump today asked a federal judge to throw out a series of lawsuits from Democratic lawmakers and Capitol Police officers, all asking that the former president be held liable for the January 6th insurrection. The judge is not expected to issue a ruling right away. The reporter Skyler Henry has more from Capitol Hill.
A federal judge in Washington, D.C. heard arguments on whether 3 civil lawsuits accusing former President Donald Trump of inciting the January 6th Capitol assault can proceed. 2 cases were brought by California Congressman Eric Swalwell and a group of House Democrats led by January 6th Committee Chair Benny Thompson. 2 members of the U.S. Capitol Police Force filed a 3rd suit seeking damages for physical and emotional injuries they say they suffered from the riot.
It often is difficult to draw lines between what is said and what happens, particularly when the person who's making the statements isn't the person actually taking the actions to physically harm somebody.
Lawyers for the former president want the lawsuits dismissed, claiming he has absolute immunity.
In part, what the former president is arguing is that he can't be sued because he was president at the time, and what the statements that he was making were official acts, that they were part of his official duties.
Meanwhile, here on Capitol Hill, another key Trump ally, Congressman Jim Jordan, is refusing to cooperate with the House Select January 6th committee that's investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The committee asked for a voluntary meeting last month, calling the Ohio Republican a material witness, given his direct contacts with former President Trump on January 6th. In a letter, Mr. Jordan wrote he has no confidence that the Select Committee will fairly or accurately represent any information he could provide. A committee spokesperson accused the congressman of trying to hide the facts and says the panel will consider appropriate next steps in the coming days. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Former President Donald Trump says he'll address the House committee's January 6th investigation during an Arizona rally planned for this coming Saturday. Convicted murderer Robert Durst has died at age 78. He died in a California medical facility while serving a life sentence. The Department of Corrections says he died from natural causes. Durst was a real estate mogul who was convicted last September of shooting and killing his longtime friend Susan Berman. Prosecutors say Durst killed Berman because she was going to tell investigators he had killed and disposed of the body of his wife, Kathleen Durst, who has been missing since 1982. Australian officials released tennis superstar Novak Djokovic from detention, and a judge has ruled he can have a visa. That would allow the world's #1 tennis player to play in next week's Australian Open. He had been detained because he recently recovered from COVID-19 and is not vaccinated, but the judge ruled the Open organizers gave Djokovic a proper medical exemption. Still ahead, we're going to share tips to safely use a space heater in the winter, and next in Health Watch, pediatric hospitals across the country report an uptick in COVID cases involving kids.
When I was a kid,
Topping today's Health Watch, immunocompromised Americans can get another COVID vaccine dose. Starting this week, 4th doses will be given to people with immunocompromising diseases who received their booster 5 months ago. That's because the CDC recommends getting another dose 5 months after the last vaccine. The agency previously recommended 6 months before another shot. There's been a massive jump in pediatric hospital admissions for COVID in recent weeks. In just the last 7 days, the CDC says an average of 824 children per day were admitted for the disease. Those numbers include kids who were in the hospital for other reasons and then tested positive. Janet Shamlian is at Texas Children's Hospital, where there's a surge in kids going to the ICU with COVID.
This is Jamestown Rogers on Christmas Day. This is the 2-year-old now, recently diagnosed with leukemia and fighting COVID in the intensive care unit of Texas Children's Hospital.
It was devastating, but it just seems like everybody have it.
Jamisha Kelly says she became alarmed when her son started having trouble breathing.
It had to be nerve-wracking for you.
Beyond nerve-wracking because he can't tell me what's going on.
COVID cases are soaring here.
It's exceeded our previous peaks, and right now we don't necessarily see light at the end of our tunnel yet.
Dr. Lara Shekademian is chief of critical care.
It's difficult. We see healthy children come in ill, and we see children with other comorbidities, as we call them, get very ill as well.
Doctor, have you had to intubate children?
Yes, we have.
Jamestown is not on a respirator, and his mom says he's improving. The CDC says children with health conditions like cancer are more susceptible to complications from the virus.
What does he understand about what's going on?
I'm sure he don't understand anything. Just ready to go home, keep pointing to the door.
But in some of these rooms, going home isn't an option as children fight for their lives. Doctors say of those here who are vaccine eligible, almost all are unvaccinated. Nationwide, the CDC says just over half of children 12 to 18 years old are fully vaccinated, and only 16% of those 5 to 11.
I can tell you with certainty that vaccinated children do not get critically ill from COVID and end up in the ICU.
The latest numbers from the hospital are troubling. More than 75 children are hospitalized with COVID. Some are on respirators. About a dozen of the infected are babies. Janet Shamlian, CBS News, Houston.
Doctors say as more kids get COVID, they need to focus on those who are the sickest, but that's increasingly difficult because parents are bringing children without severe symptoms to hospitals for testing. Hospitals are asking people to go to a pediatrician or urgent care instead. Young cancer survivors are twice as likely to experience psychological distress than those without a history of cancer. New research published in the journal Cancer shows people diagnosed with cancer between ages 15 and 39 are more likely to experience depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and PTSD. Those mental health issues are also associated with considerably higher medical expenses. A simple blood test can help determine if someone is at more risk for lung cancer. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology shows using a blood test and taking into account a person's smoking history could potentially identify 9% more cases for lung cancer screening. The Food and Drug Administration will likely require a clinical trial before that method is approved. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, why dozens of U.S. airports are temporarily banning 5G signals.
Plus, we're going to start to warm things back up just a little bit over the next few days. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it turned out to be a pretty good Monday for us today. Temperatures not too bad across the region. Still a little bit chilly, but overall upper 40s to near 50. And it looks like most of the week is going to be fairly calm and actually look pretty good. We're in the part of the pattern that is kind of calmer for the next week and a half to 2 weeks. We do have some storm systems, but no big systems. So pretty nice this week. And we have a system we'll watch for the weekend. Doesn't look like a big deal. Some colder air will start to slide in. You can get my long range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. Looks good. Clear skies. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Temperatures, they're chilly. They're not bad. Mainly low to mid 40s, near 50 in our western counties. 7th and Rangeline looking northwest. Currently in Joplin, sitting at 45. Pretty much calm winds. Humidity fairly low at about 40%. So through the evening hours, it's going to be nice and calm, pretty much clear skies, chilly. Bundle up if you are going to head out as we drop back through the 30s. I think eventually upper 20s for overnight lows as we head into the morning hours. But clear skies, really nothing here in the Central Plains. We're quiet through the evening hours. We're quiet tonight. Have a weak little wave right across the Southern Plains. This will stay south of us, so any rain will stay well south of the four-state area. And if we go out toward the west, here's our jet stream. It's way back up into Canada now and then kind of dips in. So we're in that part of the pattern again where we don't get any big storm systems. They kind of go over this ridge and drop in, and we just get little glancing blows. And that's what we're going to see as we go through the next 5, 6, really about 10 or 12 days. Let's go through time for us tonight. Temps, upper 20s to near 30. Clear skies, mostly sunny skies tomorrow, upper 40s to near 50 by noon. And I think most of us will go into the mid 50s during the afternoon. So Tuesday, pretty good day. 29 to start, 49 by noon, high temp of 54. Southerly winds will start to pick up just a little bit during the afternoon. Tomorrow night looks fine. Few random clouds in here. We'll drop back into the 30s for overnight lows, and then partly sunny skies by Wednesday. Temperatures very similar as we go into the mid 50s once again, and then we'll get a weak little front that slides in on Thursday, so we'll shift our winds out of the north, but besides that, we look okay. We really don't have any rain chances or snow chances until we head into Friday. Next storm system slides to our northeast, most likely will give us a few showers late Friday into Friday night. On the back side of this system, we may get a little bit of snow Saturday morning, but colder air kind of filters in for the weekend. So the weekend's going to be quite a bit cooler than what we're going to see this week. It's not Arctic air. It's just a little bit cooler air sliding in for the weekend. All right, 54 tomorrow, 55 on Wednesday, 54 on Thursday, 53 on Friday. So very consistent temperatures all week long. A little bit of rain, maybe mixed in with a few flakes of snow as we head into Saturday morning. The weekend a little bit cooler, but not bad. It's a great weekend to stay inside and watch some playoff football.
Yes.
I mean, especially after last night's game, kind of crazy. So I'm looking forward to that.
That Sunday night game
that was
one for
nuts.
the ages, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Overtime down to the final second of overtime. Coming up, some tips to safely use a space heater. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Ralph Price served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 1944. The Miami, Oklahoma native was stationed in the Philippines, and we salute Captain Ralph Price a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, several cruise ships are being docked due to an ongoing surge in coronavirus cases. Royal Caribbean says it's pausing operations on 4 ships, including one that's being used to quarantine crew members who test positive for COVID. The earliest any of the ships will return to service is January 29th. Employees at Citigroup have until Friday to prove they're fully vaccinated against COVID-19 or they could lose their job. Citigroup is the first big bank to enforce a vaccine mandate. Workers must submit proof or apply for an exemption by January 14th. Anyone who doesn't will be placed on unpaid leave and then fired at the end of the month. American Airlines is doubling down in its requirements for unvaccinated employees. Those workers must now submit weekly health declarations, wear face masks at all times, and practice social distancing where possible. The airline had set a vaccine mandate deadline of January 4th, but legal challenges have stalled the enforcement process. You won't be able to surf super high internet speeds at 50 American airports next week. The Federal Aviation Administration is restricting the new 5G spectrum at some of the country's busiest travel hubs. The ban lasts for at least 6 months due to potential signal interference from aircraft instruments. Experts regard the likelihood of such interference as low. Still, airports including JFK, LAX, and O'Hare will enforce a 5G buffer around the property. An investigation into a deadly fire in New York continues today. Officials say a space heater sparked the blaze that killed at least 19 people. It's less than a week after another apartment fire took multiple lives in Philadelphia, but many home fires are preventable. Reporter Mandy Gaither has key tips for fire safety.
In a span of a week, 2 deadly fires in the Northeast combined more than 30 people killed, dozens hurt.
There are about 1,700 fires each year as a result of space heaters.
The fire in the Bronx appears to have been sparked by a space heater. The Consumer Product Safety Commission is working with local authorities in New York to determine if the heater was defective, but safety advocates say they must also be used properly.
They should be kept on a flat surface so they don't tip over, and plugged directly into the wall outlet, not into an extension cord.
You should also keep space heaters 3 feet away from anything that can burn. Choose one that has a thermostat and overheat protection with a seal from a qualified testing lab and automatically shuts off. Turn them off and unplug them when you leave the room or go to bed. There are other home fire dangers as well.
Just in the first 9 days alone of 2022, the Red Cross has responded to more than 1,600 home fire emergencies across the nation.
The best way to protect your family: install smoke alarms on every level of your home, test them monthly, and change the batteries at least once a year. Have an emergency plan and practice it.
Making sure you've got 2 ways to exit every room in your home. You want to select a meeting spot for everybody to gather that is a safe distance away from your home.
The American Red Cross says to also make sure your children know what a smoke alarm sounds like so they know what to do if they ever hear it. A final check of the forecast next.
So what services? Know what I mean?
Up next on the CBS Evening News, an urgent plea from the Red Cross about a nationwide blood shortage. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on trends among COVID cases that area hospitals are seeing. Plus, the city of Joplin discusses contingency plans to reduce transit services. And a member of the St. Louis Cardinals surprises Missouri Elementary School as a substitute teacher. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Checking back in with Doug. We're looking at temps aren't too bad for January.
Yeah, a little bit on the chilly side tonight, but not too bad. About 28 to 30 degrees. A little warmer the next few days. Pretty consistent, mainly mid-50s this week, and also mainly dry. We'll get a few showers in here late Friday, maybe mixing in with a few flakes of snow early Saturday, but no big storm systems in the near future, even though we're going to get a little bit cooler by the weekend. It's January. That's pretty good.
Yes, it is. A little bit cooler, that's all right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.